Alright, here's recording. Now you guys may probably be wondering why the hell you're here, or maybe you have a slight inkling.
Maybe. Minor idea.
I hope you have a minor idea, otherwise this might all be very weird. Obviously, as you know, we ran a giveaway can't remember how long ago it was, probably 2 months ago now, and it's been a pain because I've been away, all kinds of things. But part of that giveaway was that anyone who has worked with us over the last year, if you submitted a video and did some stuff, you potentially won £1,000, which you guys have won, if you weren't aware.
Brilliant.
So, yeah, I'm going to assume that's why you probably got an inkling why you're here. So, in here there is some money. So
Very fancy.
no, super. We gotta take a shot just for the just so it's recording, and then Ollie can screen grab it. Yeah. So in there is money, which is £250,
Okay.
and then we'll bank transfer the rest to you. Purely because I thought taking
The
out
stack of cash might be a bit much.
just taking out £1,000 impractical, no one uses cash anymore was kind of my thought. So I was like, we need to have an envelope to at least show you that you've actually won something. You can open it as well.
Oh, thank you so much.
Brilliant, thank you.
And
That
then
was your video wasn't very good, so it's too
no.
Don't worry, we'll get you back.
No, it's more the taking £1,000 cash out. Probably takes you a while to spend £1,000 in cash, and it's
Oh, thank you
Brilliant,
so
thank
much.
you.
To be honest, we'd kind of forgotten about it,
Yeah.
and then we thought actually.
Was it this morning when you were driving here, or was it well, I'm assuming this kind of really gave it away, I think, but
Yeah, I'd say so. Once we got here and kind of saw
Yeah.
the setup, then I had a bit more of an
I
inkling.
think
as
it
to-
was last night actually, wasn't it? We were thinking. Actually, Joost has been really accommodating with meeting us before work.
Yeah, and we were discussing it. Of course, we talked about going to Gales or another
Yeah.
match. We were public place.
We're like,
there's
can't do
too
it
much
in-
background noise. It's not going to work. So
can't pull out
not
this whole setup. And,
to change the venue, and having all this in a bakery won't work.
yeah.
No,
So,
we really
yeah.
appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank
no,
you
brilliant.
guys.
Thank you.
No, well, you've been. To be honest, it has worked out quite well because you guys don't live that far away, and it's
That was an amazing coincidence.
and
yes.
because I literally how I did it was I got all the names, put it in a wheel, just clicked on one, and then you guys won, and it was okay, fine, perfect. They live I was because I think you moved, you used to live in London,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
you moved in kind of Cobham way.
Yeah.
So you moved
Yeah.
out. So that's why I was checking. That's why I asked you the question. I was and that's why again on the meeting we had last week, I was are you guys away next weekend? Are you going to be in the area? Just that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, we tend to be busy most weekends.
Yeah, because
so
you
it's
guys
quite-
because you've been in Birmingham. Because there was one weekend where actually I was coming down, so I wanted to do it that weekend.
Yeah.
But then you told me oh, we're going to Birmingham this week. I was shit. So that's why partially that, and because I've been away, that's why it's taken so long to actually give it to you. Because
Yeah.
you won. I literally did it. I knew instantly, basically, as soon as it the deadline, I'd done it. But then there just hadn't been
Just
a
trying
time
to line it up.
Yeah, to line it up properly.
Probably worth the extra suspense so that we could forget about it a little.
Yeah, almost until you came here and kind of clocked everything. You're oh yeah, okay,
Because
maybe.
we actually thought the other day before someone else mentioned it, we're I wonder who won it.
Yeah, no, exactly. But no, then what we wanted to do is basically do a whiteboard session. So I will move that, but you can obviously take it with you. I wanted to do a whiteboard session of where you guys currently at, what we need to do, and then just go from there. So it might be good if you also give as much context as possible, and then two, also maybe if you need to bring out your laptop, you can as well. But
Yeah.
just go
Wanna
for it.
start, Mike?
Yeah.
Because it's been kind of
We've been in and out a little.
yeah, it's been a bit up and down, in and out. So what I really want to use this kind of hour, or I know that you have to leave for a meeting at some point, but this time for today is to really map out a bit of a game plan as to what you guys really need to do to make sure it
Yeah,
kinda
so
goes.
just to
give as much
go
content. Yeah.
back a little bit. So obviously we came back from Australia and we were
When was that?
January,
January
end of
last year.
January.
This year.
And I'd been interested myself in particular in getting into property for a little while, and we were right, now's the time to do it. And then I think I told you I was looking at different mentorship
Yeah.
programs and that kind of thing, and we came across yourselves sort of like maybe Feb time, and then I can't remember whether we signed up with you.
I think
it might have been
April.
March.
It was
or
March,
April.
April.
Yeah.
Potentially, yeah. It wasn't straight away. It was
That's
around
good.
April
At least it
time.
wasn't an impulse decision.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we kind of jumped straight in with the onboarding, the videos, like set up the company. What I can't remember what else we did,
All
but
the things, yeah.
the things at the start, and then we kind of like went through a bit of, we had to leave our property in London, and then like we had a few things on personally, and we kind of like, it was all a bit much, and then we decided to start planning a wedding, and
Yeah.
and then we were like, right, we need to pause something for a little bit, and then we ended up pausing for like a month or two, didn't we? And then over the last sort of 2 months,
We've
we've
been way more back into
jumped
it.
straight back in again.
Yeah. And in terms of that then, where, I kind of already know, but where is your kind of biggest issue or biggest thing you're struggling with?
I think for us, it's probably getting access to kind of the right leads and landlords, because as you know, we've had some leads, and we've got a couple on the go at the moment, but it's probably more the volume side.
I do think we've actually had some really good leads up to this point. We've been at the point where like we've thought we've had a deal at least 5 times by now, if not more. Whether it's through like recommendations, or whether it's through we've found that a landlord or a developer who's had multiple, and some we're still actually like calling up now to try and see if the deal's going to go over the line. But we've always got to that point, and then something, either it's not been the right property, or the numbers haven't. We had, I think I told you last week, we had a landlord say to us, "Take my property and do what you want with it." And we looked through all different routes, and just the numbers didn't add up, because it was.
Where was that one?
It was in London.
South East London.
Okay.
It was,
I think,
What happened to the one in Walton that we went to see together?
Yeah, so I followed up with, the numbers didn't exactly stack up, and we ran through the numbers with Joost and again. But I still wanted to follow up to see if we could negotiate on the rent price, and also he mentioned he's a manager at another property.
Like a block.
Yeah, like
I
a block
remember
of
that. Yeah.
flats in somewhere on the south coast.
I think it was Southampton, if I'm not mistaken. But
Yeah,
that rings a bell.
Yeah.
Southampton.
So I followed up with him 3 times, because he gave me his personal phone number as well. I left him a couple of voice mails, and he never called me back. So I kind of left it.
Fair enough. Okay. And at the moment, what's like your offer? Like what? Because where I think you're seeing, there's 2 main issues at the moment. Is one, potentially like offering, and also your leads, and especially your lead flow. Like, so there's 2 main things that like ideally we need to solve to make sure that you, 1, have an attractive offer to bring people through the door, and then 2, can actually make sure you're enacting on that. So, because I know it's been a bit where are you at? Like, what are you mainly focusing on, rent to rent, or are you mainly focused on management at the moment? What's the ideal preference?
I'd say we're focusing more on management to start with.
Yeah.
And then if when we're talking to potential leads, and there is potentially a rent to rent, then we'll talk about it. But the primary focus is on the management side,
piece.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. And at the moment, you guys have got a 1-pager, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Can I see it?
Yes.
Yeah.
One thing that we've had a bit of pushback with is a couple of landlords saying to us, "You'll never get a landlord to pay bills."
Bills?
Yeah, so when we've said, we're looking at management, and as part of that offer, we do X, Y, Z, but obviously you would be responsible for the bills.
Okay.
We've had
That's interesting because obviously I do a lot of on the management side of the bit of our business, and usually that's not a problem. I think it probably depends a bit on what the landlord is thinking. You know, if they're thinking of like, I want to rent out my property to you, then they're like, no, of course I'm not going to pay the bills. But we get people who, for example, already Airbnb their property. Sometimes it's people who Airbnb their property themselves already, and they feel that they're not doing it right. So, for example, they only have it on Airbnb and they don't really know how to manage the calendar across multiple platforms like Booking.com. And that is something
Sorry, I need to.
we can offer.
I need to connect.
Do you need
to
the
my-
Wi-Fi?
Other times, especially with the renters reform bill coming in or having come in now, it's a lot of landlords are very wary of renting their property as an
Standard
AST,
renting.
and they are genuinely actively looking at either moving away from traditional ASTs because of the reform bill, or they're looking at increasing or maximizing their revenue. And as such, they are genuinely actively looking at the Airbnb route. And then it's just a matter of the numbers for them, you know, because they're like, okay, I know what I can do on an AST. That might be, let's say £2,000. And if they then see that via Airbnb, they would get £3,000 or £4,000, then obviously the numbers stack. Because yes, you know, it's always like, okay, this is what you could get as revenue on Airbnb. But you have to be aware that if you're not, you know, normally your tenant would be paying, you know, gas, water, electricity, Wi-Fi, those costs will be for you. So on the Airbnb route, it's got to be what you get in revenue has got to cover what they would normally want to get as an AST, plus the bills, plus ideally something extra.
And I think that's where we've struggled with.
Yeah.
If it's someone that already has been Airbnb-ing, it's fine.
Yeah.
But when we've spoken to a couple of landlords recently where they want to try out a new model, and when we've had a meeting with them about Airbnb, they have been on board. And then whenever we get to the conversation about bills, it's like, oh, I don't want to do that.
I think that's about it's about like how you frame it and the belief, like breaking their kind of beliefs.
Have you got your one page?
Oh yeah, sorry. I think this is the management one. The second page of it, it's very similar to another person's.
That's fine. But no, the point is like you need to. So say like if you're running into that as a blocker, I'm just gonna put there for a minute. If you're running into that as a blocker and they're saying like, you know, usually they would rent their property out for, you know, let's say 1,500, right? And, you know, the tenant pays bills, so we'll just call it the AST. They pay like bills, you know, council tax, etc. Whereas now, what they're having to do, and let's say that that's, you know, around £300 a month, roughly. I don't know. Like you're probably getting around that if it's a 2-bed flat, let's say for example. But let's say on Airbnb, they may be able to generate. You're probably looking at around the 2.5K to 3K a month, depending on where you're sitting. Like this is like, I'm using like a standard Leeds property because this is a very easy example of like stuff that we've gone through. You know, that's generally where you're going to sit. They'll have some months where they go over the 3K. They might have some months they go under, but like this is your 12-month kind of rolling average. So even if a landlord then, you know, if you say in between that they sit at 2.75, if they minus, you know, bills, which is 300, then they minus the rent of 15, like what they would usually get, then they're down to 1,800, what's that, about £950? Yeah, so then they're down to 950, which...
That's their profit.
That would be like their profit. Now, obviously, if you're charging a management fee in here as well, you can, you know, this is going to drop it down. So if you charge a management fee of, let's just call it 500 for ease, they'll be left with 450, right? So that would be, you know, the landlord's
But that's
You know.
450 more than they are getting on
Yeah.
an AST, right? And
Yeah.
a lot of landlords are looking at, say, they'll be delighted if they get £250.
So that's like, that's almost how I'd break it down for them. It's like, even if, so this is with their rent, you know, we don't know what their mortgage is, because you can, most times when a lead comes in, you're not going to know what their mortgage is. But you can say like, right, the average rent that you're getting, you know, you're getting on your property, you can ask them, will be 1,500, whatever. So like, you know, I'll just write it to show, like, would be the, you know, the rent that they're getting, this is the bills and council tax that they have to pay, and this is then, you know, what they could bring in. Now, on, like, for example, the property that you have, there are specific nuances or properties that I've started to find that don't work and don't stack up. Particularly for London and where you guys live,
Yeah.
I've found it to be South London particularly is hard, and 1-bedroom flats. So because the base rental price in London is so high that, like, you're talking for like a decent 1-bedroom flat, you're probably paying, I don't know, between at least 1.5 to 2K a month, if not more, right?
I'd say minimum 2.
Yeah, like, you know, so you're paying 2K a month. Unless you're talking zone 1 for those 1-bedroom flats, you can't charge £200 a night. You know, you're probably getting close to like 150, which, you know, if you just do 2,000 divided by, can you pull out a calculator, Mum? 150. I don't know how many nights that is, but...
And that's where we struggled with the South London.
Yeah, so the
He
similar...
wanted, like, he was charging 2-3, was it?
If it's
2,
divided
3.
by 150 is 13 nights.
Yeah, so that's 13 nights, and that doesn't even include
But that
bills,
doesn't
etc.,
include
to
the
break
bills.
even
It
on the
often
rent.
doesn't stack on that.
So like a 1-bedroom flat in London is kind of like, if you think like, okay, what do we need to start avoiding first? So to know what should we not be looking at, what should we be looking for, is like 1-bedroom flat, London, generally.
And also, I would say, because the rates drop quite quickly the further out you go. So if
Yeah,
you
zone
start
1 and zone
one,
2.
fantastic.
Yeah.
You're usually on to a winner. But the further out you go, the rates generally drop quite quickly, especially in low season. And that also makes it harder.
Yeah.
So that's where you, like I was saying, like that's where you start to know. And then so like I've seen that, particularly like, yeah, if you go to like Watford, North London, or if you start to come the area of like, we've got a couple of properties, Guildford, Surrey way, they stack up quite well because that's an expensive area. But if you start to go kind of like more Croydon, that kind of way of South London, it just, the numbers against the rent will just never stack. I've never seen it really work properly.
And
Yeah,
that's another offer from a landlord we had, and we brought it to you like a few months ago with the property in Croydon, wasn't it? It was like a 4 or 5 bed, and the woman was like, take my property, which is maybe not a good sign. But yeah, we ran the numbers and they were really poor.
Yeah, so it's more like making sure the deals are good, and then it's just like the framing of it to make sure that you can kind of present to them, look, you are actually going to be £450 better off a month if you have this in the first place. Now, also what you can say, which comes onto the council tax piece, is eventually they can go for business rates, which means that they will get a massive reduction on their council tax bill. So we've got some properties. So once you know better than I do, what's the qualification?
You need to have run your Airbnb for at least 140 days.
Okay.
And of those, you need to have been at least 70 days occupied. So it's a 50% occupancy normally is not a problem. It's the 140 days, so that's almost 5 months.
Yeah.
So you need to have been up and running for almost 5 months before you can apply for business rates. And then the challenge is that there is a massive delay in processing these business rates. So it can take up to a year.
Yeah, the councils are very, very slow. Or the valuation office agency.
Yeah, it's the VOA. But so yeah, there is delays, but they do backdate it.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of kind of trying to get your application in as soon as you can.
Yeah, but they'll pay you a tax rebate of all the council tax you paid.
Yeah.
So So again, that's like when you start to break it down, we have some properties where you get a 0 rate business rates. Sometimes it might be 40, 50, 100 pounds. But if your council tax is 200 pounds,
200,
you're
which
saving
easily is the case in London or Brighton,
you're saving,
for example.
nearly 50 to 100% just on council tax alone.
Yeah, that's
So
helpful to know.
So that's again like how I would frame it. Now, obviously, if you're getting deals which just don't stack in the first place, then trying to tell them like, well, you're gonna have to pay the bills isn't gonna work. But that's maybe where this not so much, but this is if you sort that out, you will have an abundance of leads that you can kind of avoid these in the first place. So that's kind of that point. But let's go through. Yeah, I don't really have a whiteboard. I don't have a rubber though. Unless you have a cloth.
Let me see
or
get a white cloth or something.
Yeah, because it feels like we've got, I think on that flow, especially on the last couple of leads, we've got better at. So the one that didn't work out, for example, I think it was more the landlord didn't want the hassle of dealing with
I know
bills.
that one specifically was a unique
scenario. And the one we went to see last week or the week before was more around, he wanted it to be a X amount uplift. He wasn't too fussed by kind of £100, £200 increase. He was more interested once it started getting 500 and upwards type thing. That's where it piqued his interest more. And it's worth saying that one's not gone. We've just resent some numbers.
That one's still on the table.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go. Send me your one pager, because one of the things that I mentioned it on the last call, but one of the things that you want to have a look at is if you're running into any issues with your one pager, is there's basically this, like, it's a crazy story, but there's basically like this AI. It's basically this AI website called Lovable that's basically like, I wish I was as smart as these guys are. They've basically gone, in less than a year, they've gone from a company that was nothing to doing 100 million in recurring revenue, which is nuts. But basically, like, what you could do is this here. Is like this here, essentially, you can input like your one pager in here. And then for an example, it's like it will build you a website / it's more like a landing page. It's not advanced enough to do like a full website yet, but it will build you a pretty substantial kind of web page that has everything like in it already, and it can even like reroute emails to you and stuff. So it's like get your free valuation and stuff like that. So I found that very useful to direct people towards. Like, my advice has always been like, don't just go build a full website from the get-go because it's very hard. But this just changes, which is why it's gone so big so quickly. Is it just kind of changes the game on that, and like you can build this in like 10 minutes to an hour, depending on how many prompts you want to give it. So that's super, super useful to essentially like take this, put it in there, and then you can also send landlords like a more official website kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you can connect it to like a custom domain. So like if you have your own domain, like you can connect that, and then it will just appear as like, Mac properties management, whatever, and it would just be a web page. So that's one thing I would advise there.
I mean, a lot of the landlords we've spoken to recently, like, because we've met them in person and they're aware of Airbnb and they're in, even though they don't do property as such, they own properties, so they obviously have friends that do property and things, so they already know about Airbnb and they know who we are, so they're not interested in like us sending a one pager, but so we haven't really sent it out that much, to be honest. We just built it when we first joined.
No, I think like what I would say is like it depends on how you get your lead flow as to this. So I'm just saying here. So basically what you're offering is 10% management is your main offering, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. So that's kind of, okay. And it says first month free. First month free. And then you kind of do hands. That's fine. That's all I wanted to kind of see essentially. So I'll let you take that back. So this part, your offer is not, it's not bad or it's not weak or not strong. I think where the main thing that you need to do on your offering is if you have like if you are the best marketer in the world and you have the most lead flow in the world, your offer can essentially be whatever you want it to be. Like for example, like the big estate agents or whatever, they can charge 20-25% management fees for Airbnb because they have the branding and the lead flow. So if you work on this piece here, this piece almost becomes really easy. Yeah. Like, you know, people don't buy from Apple because it's the best or the best phone. They're just like, oh, I like Apple phones, it works for me, and they're a repeat customer kind of thing. I think what you can bear in mind here is like what I do say, which is an idea to kind of hold is like, and I've said it before, it's like if you were to work for 12 months for free and then pitch that to a load of landlords, you would get like your first 5 clients very quickly because that would be a super attractive offer. Now you don't have to do that, but then start to work backwards to see like, okay, what would I be willing to do to get my first 5 clients? Yeah. Because if you got your first 5 clients, you would have 5 business cases or case studies or testimonials or whatever. And then that would ramp up everything else so much quicker because you've got so much stronger belief points there. So you don't have to do this, but what are you willing to do to potentially get your first 5 clients as quick as possible? Because all that will do is essentially shorten from 0 to 5. It will shorten that time frame because you will bring them on board as quickly as possible.
To give you an idea, like one of our other mentees, what he did, so he got a lead through us, and then we realized that this landlord was also speaking to other management companies, and of course he was in a situation where he can't provide proof yet, right? He needed his first property. And this landlord was talking to other management companies and was kind of like toing and throwing. And the other management company was asking 12% because I could see that on their website. And so it's like, okay, in order to be able to be more attractive, he's got to offer something that is better than 12%. So what we discussed it with him, what he did is he offered 3 months management for free. And it was like, listen, you know, yeah, it's you have to swallow it to start with, but at the same time, you're building the experience, right? And you're not running any risk because you're doing it as a management company, you know, etc.
Yeah.
And, then after, you know, and then you can go out and you can say that, you know, you've got the
landlord has 2 properties already. So that landlord has 2 properties. So from that, like, if you kind of then do it in a math sense, if he offers 3 months for free on one, that's actually halved because the fact that he gets 2 properties on the back end of it. Yeah. Or he would have been at 0, would have been at 2. And then what we're doing with him specifically is that what I said to him is like, even if you don't make a single penny off this, because what we're going to do with him is we're going to help him run some ads. So even if you don't make a single penny off your first deal, the fact that you can reference that in an ad, so in your ad, you know, copy essentially, he can reference the case study, that then property becomes invaluable. Yeah. Because he can then run his ad constantly and then have leads come off the back of that because of the case study. Even if you haven't made a single penny, he will then still make way more money off the back of that.
We've been looking at doing some ads and we were thinking as one of our hooks, like we're looking for 5 landlords to manage your property for free for 3 months.
Yeah.
That's
something we discussed this week. That will crush it on the hook sense. Yeah. And then it's like, can I have the cloth again, please? So for him, that's kind of the offering piece. It's like if you're offering as attractive as possible to build the case studies, and once you have the case studies, you can essentially strengthen your offer. For you, not them. So then, like for us now, we charge anywhere from 15 to 20% on our fees, plus an onboarding fee, you know, like so plus onboarding, plus we have a 5% direct booking charge.
And a channel management fee.
We have a software fee. you know, there's all sorts of kind of things that then like our offer is far more weighted in our favor. So like, and then, you know, we do like the damage waivers as well. So I'm just going to say DW for damage waiver, but like all of that then means that, again, what I was saying to him is like, even if you make 0% on the management fee, if you've got these things in your contract, you can charge, potentially you can say, well, I'm not charging you a management fee for the first 3 months, but I do need to charge you an onboarding fee because it's going to take me time. We're going to have to do this, this, and this. So then, you know, you might make 300 to 600 there, depending on how much you do. Then here, if you take one booking of even 1,000, or let's say, even if it's 1,000, that's £50 there. Then a software fee, which I think ours is £15. And then the damage waivers, where you probably make at least 100 to 200 a month off that. So that starts to add up. And then if you times that by 2 properties, 5 properties, 10 properties, again, that all starts to add up. And even if you're managing it for free, but you're just making this money here, that would still mean it's like 200, 250 a property. Which is where we start to see the uplift on some of our clients. Like we have, I think it's ridiculous, but we have a Zone 1 property in London. Our damage waiver, not the holding deposit, the waiver is £250 non-refundable. And people pay that on a regular basis. So that means on that one property, our management fee can be like £1,500 for the month, plus we might make another 500 to potentially 1,000 on damage waivers. Just on those waivers. Now, obviously, if something were to go wrong, that's part of the risk you play of kind of almost playing insurance. But most of the clients in that kind of property aren't going to damage it because they're paying thousands of pounds to stay there in the first place. So that's kind of like your offer piece. And then it's like, for your lead flow, I think there's the obvious answer of like, a couple of things. So what are your main mechanisms of outreaching to people at the moment? I know you've done it through Airbnb, which could be like, you know, you've done like
How
Airbnb,
did you find that, the Airbnb route?
and that's cold outreach.
Like very 50-50, but we
miss.
had some of our best leads through Airbnb.
That's good.
But obviously you've got restrictions on
Yeah.
the amount of messages you can send, so there's only a finite amount of outreach.
So you've done Airbnb. What else have you done?
Going to networking events.
Yeah. Okay. How many of those are you doing roughly? And just be honest with me. I'm not going to shit on you.
Our aim at the moment is getting to 1 a month.
Okay. Fine.
Yeah, we've probably done maybe like 4
I
up
reckon
until
4 or
this
5,
point,
yeah.
4 or 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then.
And how are you finding that?
I find networking events fine because my background's
Yeah.
in sales. So
Yeah.
But do
kind
you
of
find
used
you're
to it.
getting leads from there?
Yeah,
or
I find.
valuable
Yeah, I think we've walked away from every networking
with
session
something?
with
Two
something.
two of our most recent leads, the one that we had to say no to,
Yeah.
and then the other one who he's still considering us, was from the last networking event you went to.
Yeah, but it's also useful, the networking events, it helps like refine your messaging.
Yeah.
A bit as well. You get used to talk to people
Well, it
about the
helps
general.
with this because you
Yeah.
start to see what people do and don't want in the marketplace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we've been doing some warm outreach
Yeah.
on like Facebook, text messaging people that.
So that's to your own network?
Yeah.
or-
Yeah.
Exactly.
And
How's that going?
okay.
Okay. We've had like a couple of people have responded to me saying that they have some contacts in property or they know some landlords, and they'll send me some details over, and I'm like every week I'm like, can you send me some details then, please? Some. Yeah, I mean, some have been useful. I've found out someone's an estate agent, or I found out someone's connected to property in some way. So yeah, it's like some potential interesting conversations have happened through it, but yeah, I'd say nothing like revolutionary.
Okay. And have you got your list here of how much you've done of that? Have you tracked it all?
Yes, I've got
Okay.
everything on the tracker.
Fine. Because you're currently not doing this anymore, right?
Not really.
No, that's kind of on hold.
So it's one networking event a month plus you're warm to contacts. Is there anything else that I'm really missing that you're?
I wouldn't say so.
Okay, fine. So what I want to do is first check your messaging here to refine that. So potentially see if there's any kind of gaps in what you're sending or saying that could cause, that not to work as well. Then we'll go on to that piece, and then we'll go on to what we need to do next.
You're going to tell us straight away we haven't done enough.
Probably. Probably. So these are all
I
your...
assume the red ones are the dead leads.
Yeah.
So these are all your contacts?
No, this is we've got them
okay.
all in different tabs.
Okay. Fine. Phone contacts.
Some are like, because they're duplicates across different things, we've like crossed them off certain lists.
Well done on tracking it properly, by the way.
Yeah, that at least makes
the first.
One thing that I do is I'm very like OCD with
It's so important because you forget
formatting.
Yeah.
You forget what, like, you've reached out to someone and suddenly they come back a month later, and if you haven't written it down, I couldn't for the life of me remember what that conversation was with that landlord.
I mean, there has been some follow-ups from some networking events that, to be fair, we probably haven't actually put on there, but because there's one we went to one this week, on Friday.
Yeah, literally Friday evening. So
we went to one, and I've got about, not many, but 5 people I want to follow up with, because one's a property developer.
Oh yeah, cool.
One's an estate agent.
Yeah.
And
one runs
networking events, and she also like invests people's money up north, basically.
So with estate agents, do you also kind of have that discussion with them, because they don't tend to be able to cover anything less than 6 months, right? Because estate agents normally work, if they are in the rent kind of part of their estate agent, they normally work with ASTs, which is from 6 months upwards. So they normally, if somebody comes to them and they're like, okay, I need to travel for 3 or 4 months, what can you do? They can't really do anything with that.
Yeah.
So they could refer to you and just take like you could offer them a kickback.
Yeah.
But I just want to be clear, don't do that as like your primary focus, because we've had people like where I've said things to people and they don't listen. But basically, like, that should be like we can offer you something.
The estate agent we spoke to, she's new to London, but she's been doing it for quite a few years in Liverpool.
Yeah.
And she said that her current like estate agent office, they get told to say no to anyone that rings up and says,
Like,
do you do company lets?
Yeah.
But she's very familiar with the concept,
Yeah.
and she's like, actually thinks it's a really good strategy.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then she said there's actually someone that she used to work with in the Liverpool office who actually like has set up his own thing where anyone that wants to do company, like they direct straightly to him.
Yeah.
So I said to her, even though he's in Liverpool, why not? I'll just message her and see if he's got anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Do you know roughly how many connections you have on each of these platforms? Phone contacts might be hard, but how many like Facebook followers do you have roughly?
A couple of hundred each. A few hundred.
I've probably got about 900.
Yeah, you're laughing. Okay. And how many do you have on Instagram? Because I can see on Instagram it's only you, not Michael, that's messaged. I assume it's similar-ish number.
No, maybe like, I don't actually know.
400.
Maybe like 700.
I
700.
don't know.
Okay.
A lot of them are duplicates.
Yeah. I know. And then what you got on LinkedIn? How many connections?
Maybe 200. You've got things. Mike's got like
You will have
loads.
500 plus.
Yeah,
but then he doesn't
1,000,
obviously want to reach out to anyone in the pensions.
No,
because of
that's-
his.
Okay,
That's
and
fair
then
enough.
phone will just say question mark. We don't know. Probably a couple hundred there. So I'll do my calculations. And this is not me. This is just like, it's gonna be because I want to put it on for like onto a concept. I'm not gonna.
Oh yeah, no, don't. We already know. Yeah.
So you've got 337. is your kind of like total outreach number, which obviously,
That's the ones contacted.
yes,
Yeah.
from what we've tracked, which obviously I think you just know it needs to go up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So kind of the concept is of, there's two main things that we can work on here, which is one, a principle which is basically more, better, new. And then there's also principle of like, okay, leverage. So more, better, new, very, very self-explanatory, i.e. we need to just do more first, then we can do it better, and then we can move on to something new. So where the mistake that most people do is like, you know, I've been very kind of anti-open rent, spare room, etc., blah, blah, blah. However, like I have had success on those platforms. Reason being is because I probably just did more than most people. It definitely wasn't better because I had no idea what I was doing, and I wasn't doing anything new. So what most people do is, let's say they are struggling, instead of jumping to instantly going, right, well, actually I need to do more because I've only done 300 outreaches in, let's say 3 months, because we'll discard the first. Yeah, we'll say 3 months, like, so 3 months. So that's like 100 a month, which realistically, that presumes that like 3 a day, which you know could be like, ideally you should be doing like 100 a day. If you really like, if that's like, if you want to like shorten this gap here, like we're saying, is like if you're doing 100 a day, which sounds like a ridiculous amount, but if it's a message, a voice note takes you maybe 1 to 2 minutes. If you're just dropping 100 of those, that's an hour to 2 hours of work a day. So that's kind of point one. So it's like you just need to do more for most people, whatever form of outreach it is. Then it's like, okay, if you're doing more and your numbers are kind of stating like, basically you are getting less than like, let's say, responses from people of like 50%. Like if less than 50% of people are responding to your message, either the people that know you don't really like you, or you're sending a really bad message up front. So then it's like, okay, you need to work on that. Then it's kind of like, we've talked on it before, it's like, okay, what's the next part in your process? Like you're getting a 50% response rate. On that, how many people are you converting to like phone calls or viewings or whatever? Kind of like next stage in your sales process, right? You know, ideally you'd want that conversion to sit at around 20%, because these people aren't necessarily 100% qualified. It might sit a bit lower because you're not qualifying every single person of like, okay, you are someone who's interested in property.
Yeah.
So it might sit lower in that. But where you could probably start is like, if you get a response, the uncomfortable thing here, which you're probably not doing, is just calling them. Because if you're chasing someone, a message is harder to ignore than a phone call. No, easier to ignore than a phone call. So like, if you especially have someone who you know is a good lead, you should just be calling them straight away. Because it's one of the things of like, if they ignore your phone, generally if someone rings you, you're going to get back to them because it's deemed as more urgent. So especially if there's a lead who is interested, that's something that you should be doing instantly. And then again, working it down kind of like your sales funnel, let's say.
It's also, I mean, if you're familiar with sales, then you will be very familiar with the whole funnel, but it's like, you work your numbers, right? If you say like, okay, I reach out to 100 and then I will only get 10% to the next step.
What I want to do is go through the numbers, because what you'll see here is like, if we just use averages, and I don't know what the actual number for you is, but let's say if you get a 50% response rate, that's about 170 responses. Then if you say averages, like for people going down the funnel, are between 10 and 20%.
Yeah, and if
So
this
like-
is quite cold, you're probably sitting more on the 10%.
But like, even if, let's say, we'll do one for like a scenario for 10 and 20. For 10%, that means you'd have 17 phone calls. For 20%, it means you have 34.
Yeah.
Then if you convert again to like viewings, you know, if you say like next stage in your process is calls, then it's viewings, and then after that it's only contracts. like then you've got your signed property. So here, if you're working at 10% of 17, you're down to 1.7 already. And then to here, 10% of that, you're down to
0.17.
yes. So and then
So in order to get to 1, you need
so
to
even if you've got 20% of that,
5x
then you'd be at
everything.
3.4, and then you'd be at
0.34.
yeah. I don't know why I'm struggling with the but no, because you'd be 20% of that, so you'd be at
Oh, I thought it was 10% here.
no. I'm doing a 20% scenario as well. So then you'd be at
Okay.
0.68, right?
Yes,
And
3,
then-
4, 6, 8.
And then if you do 34%, you'd be at oh, I can't. It's all going wrong in my head. 34%, you'd be at 6.4, 6.8 viewings here, and then if you did 20% of 6.8, you'd be at 1.1, 1.6.
1.36.
Why don't we just use a calculator? That's why they exist. 6.8 times 20%. Yeah, 1.36. So that means if you were, getting a 50% response rate and converting at 20% all the way down your funnel, you'd only end at 1.36, which kind of shows you really, and so it shows you because you've been on how many viewings roughly? Out of this, just this kind of
Maybe like,
one or two, I'm guessing, I think.
I think like 3.
Okay, so if you're at 3, that means essentially whatever
Well,
you're...
that's about right. Then.
Yeah, so but that's what I'm saying. It's if you run these hypotheticals, you see, okay, you're converting at 20% here, another 20% here, but then if you're converting at either 10 or 20% here, this is where your numbers are off. So your numbers kind of match up roughly to what you're saying. It's that this number here needs to go up.
Yeah.
So if
Can I just interrupt
Yeah.
for a sec? So if you have 337 contacts here and you had 3 viewings there, that's literally...
It's a 10% total.
No, it's 1%.
Oh, 1%. Yeah, you're right.
So if you were to do a total outreach of 1,000,
Yeah.
you would get 10 viewings, and then whatever your conversion rate is,
Yeah,
if
1
we
to 2
assume-
probably.
If we assume 10 to 20%, then you would end up with 1 to 2 contracts.
Yeah.
So the biggest challenge
Yeah.
is your volume, your pipeline. Is adding more to the top.
Yeah, I think that's the thing as well, because we've got close to a deal, at least maybe I'd say, even without the viewings.
Quite a fair few
Probably
times.
I'd say 6 times.
Yeah.
And there was
Yeah.
one lady who was literally like, yep, you're managing my property for me. And then it was literally a situation of she was meant to leave the country and her whole plans changed and she didn't. So
Yeah.
suddenly she didn't want to. So that
Yeah.
was again, an unfortunate situation. But yeah, we've definitely been close, even though our numbers are not great. We've
No, but
definitely
it shows that
been
you're
No, it's-
it's not. It shows that because you're.
You're getting the outcomes.
Yes, exactly. That's my
Yeah.
point. So your percentages, as in where you're converting down the funnel,
Yeah.
of is not bad.
You're doing it all right.
So it wouldn't mean to me, it wouldn't scream to me here okay, we need to do everything better.
Yeah.
Wouldn't so that would be the next process. So if you had 1,000, 2,000 here, and you were still at 0 down here, then I'd be right, something on this process is going completely wrong, and we need to do it better.
Yeah.
But for you, it's it's not the fact, because your conversion numbers kind of line up with what we're saying, which is just these are just averages generally of sales and closing and bringing people through a funnel.
Yeah, sure.
So we get management leads in. So for example, here it shows 9 new leads. They have all come in over the weekend. And then what I will do, those are Airbnb valuation requests. So normally what I currently do is I will go back to them. Because they will come in with, say, minimal information, because most of them come in via Instagram or Facebook ads. So they come in with a postcode and a city. it might be, say, postcode and then London. But that doesn't give me enough information to kind of do a valuation, because I need to know the number of bedrooms, the number of bathrooms, whether that's free parking, whatever. You know, a bit more about the area. So normally what I will do is I will go back to them and reach out. So like, thank you for your Airbnb valuation request. You know, can I get a bit more information? Now, over the weekend, because we had birthdays, visitors, you know, so I haven't been able to do the outbound calling over the weekend. So then I have tried with some of them. What I'll do is I'll ping them a WhatsApp message, and some of them will come back to me via WhatsApp, which then means I can take it to the next step to start doing evaluation.
But what ringing them allows you to do is it also allows you to screen people.
Yeah.
So like you don't want to be doing evaluation for every single person, because some of them just aren't qualified or whatever. So you want to kind of screen those people out.
Yeah.
And
And
you know,
they give the wrong postcode. So they might want a valuation on a property in London, but they live in Portsmouth, and they end up giving their postcode for Portsmouth. And then, you know, so...
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, that's probably also partially things that we need to change.
I mean, we could do
in
it
the
far more
lead funnel.
efficient, and we could probably like have an AI reach out to them and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Where I don't know what the numbers sit is like, this is where you have to look at your kind of processing your conversions. Is like, if we got, you know, if we get this many opt-ins, this many leads, if my mum calls them and does this many valuations, what does it convert at? Whereas if we got like an AI bot to text them or whatever, how many responses, how many conversions will we get from that? We haven't trialed that, so you don't know, because people always say like automate, and I'm like automate, and I agree, but in sales I think that's harder, because like what converts people into paying customers is value.
Yeah.
So like the fact that my mum is ringing them and having a conversation with them will give them more value than if like an AI chatbot reaches out to them. Now, could you argue that it's more efficient? You get more down the funnel. That's where you have to kind of test and see like, okay, what brings me more contracts? And also what, if we freed up her time there, what does it go elsewhere? So those are the kind of things that we're trying to discuss and figure out.
And part of what we're trying to recruit for, because this is taking a lot of my time, it's probably taking 4 hours of my day. It's not just, you know, the first reach out, but it's also, it's basically doing this. You know, it's dial for the first time. If they don't pick up, then I, you know, mark them for need to call again, you know, doing viewings, you know, the whole sales funnel all the way through, like, okay, this lead is dead, or it's going to be a long-term lead, or a contract comes out of it, or whatever. So yeah, we're trying to kind of figure out how.
Yeah. But the hardest part of like your business to outsource is the sales, because people don't necessarily always care how the product is delivered on if what they were promised is what they were, like what they received kind of thing.
Yeah.
But they, like generally, like you are more likely to buy if you are speaking to the founder of the company than if you are speaking to a sales rep.
Yeah.
Like that's just true.
Yeah.
Whereas like if on the back end, if like they don't care as much whether it's like one of our VAs or our management team or whatever who's helping with the day-to-day management and stuff like that, but they do want to kind of speak to the founders, understand us, and that. So it's harder to outsource that piece. So like until you reach like certain level of growth and basically how big your business is, it's very hard. Like this, for most people, is always the bottleneck.
Yeah.
So for us, the bottleneck to growing our management business even further is more manpower to do more of this. We can deliver on the
increase the
back
funnel.
end. We can deliver.
Yeah.
So like we're capping our ad spend and whatever because we feasibly can't really deliver more of this, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
I
going,
can't push more people through the funnel because I don't have the time.
You don't have the time.
so going back to kind of this thing for you is like, if you increase that, if you for the next 10 days did 100 a day, did 1,000, you'd probably very quickly, if these numbers all kind of stay the same as what you're doing now, you'd very quickly end up with something down here. And that's kind of your main point of like, that's the main thing. And you kind of already know that, but it's more when you start to visualize it and see it, it makes a lot more sense. And this is where I think people make the mistake. So for you, it's like you don't really need to do it better. You probably could do it better, but where you're going to get the most value out of what you're currently doing now is just doing more.
Yeah.
Whereas, like what I'm saying is a lot of people struggle and then they probably need to just do more. Then it's actually, if they're doing more and it's still not working out, then they probably need to do it better. But then they don't do that, and then they just jump straight to new.
Yeah.
And that's where kind of issues arise.
I also think we flip between the couple of the different methods of outreach.
Yes.
Which obviously good to have a mix, but also sometimes
It's about
we
focus.
waste time thinking,
No, it's always...
where should we look today? Should we do some cold outreach?
Yeah,
should
so
we do some warm outreach?
it's always like focus is the big key word. And it's the same for us. It's the same for like basically any business. It's like focus is the big key one. And then like also for you here, one networking event a month, in the nicest way. I don't know how busy your lives are on a day-to-day basis, but like you don't have children, you don't have like, you've got to like, I was trying to get to push her and I was is like 2 a week is what we were kind of like, it was minimum 1 a week, ideally 2 a week when we were starting our business, because that is, you know, if you see, so let's say even if we just both, so there's 2 of us, there's you and Mike as well, if we both do 1 a week, that's 8 a month.
That's doable.
So we are doing
Normally
8,
speaking.
we are doing 8x your output. So we then are also going to get 8x the throughput on this as well. And it's the same with this. So like, if you like networking, I think is a kind of a thing of like, you go there, you do it. It doesn't really take that much afterwards. So I'd always say like, you have to go to networking events and do that kind of stuff. That if you then, both of you start going to 1 a month each, even if you both go to the same event, but the both of you, or if you really wanted to start getting a bit techie with it, is you both go to Central London on the same day, but you go to this event and Mike goes to that event.
Yeah.
So you can both work more rooms and basically have more throughput of your funnel because you'd meet more people, you see more people.
Yeah. We went to the same one on Friday.
Yeah.
And we sort of like
Split up.
split up. Yeah, we definitely
absolutely.
split up.
But then if you were in, like, let's say, different rooms, you could even, you know, basically you come into contact with more people, so then that throughput works more.
But
So it's like-
unfortunately, that event wasn't. It
it
wasn't
wasn't the
great.
best, but
and,
that's fine,
There wasn't
but-
many
But like
that many
that's,
people. But
like,
yeah.
that's where again here is like you need to increase that more piece first, because what we did, which massively helped us, was like where the leverage came with the fact that we don't really do this anymore. I do a little bit of this, but like we don't have to do any of these kind of outreach. Is that the brand building became such a key piece for us that people started to reach out to us for deals, for things. Oh, do you know someone who could take this on? Or would you be interested to take this on, kind of thing? So you build that brand because you build basically authority in your niche. And this is why I tell people like be active on like Facebook groups, WhatsApp chats, blah, 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 whatever. Because that becomes super, super important.
And that's something you did really, really well.
Yeah, it's something I did more.
We
of.
had WhatsApp groups, and I mean, a lot less so now, but in the beginning, Joost was literally.
I'd like almost like vlog my days and
was
send it
on
to these
it.
WhatsApp groups.
Yeah.
Like I would literally like vlog my days, vlog what I was doing, or be like, yeah, I've just done this today.
Yeah.
And I would send it to WhatsApp groups.
It created brand recognition.
Because people then, like, they see my name attached to that video. So one, they see my face, so they know who I am. So then if they could see me at a networking event, they're more likely to speak to me because they feel like a familiarity. And that's not me posting on it. This was before I even went to do
So
anything on Instagram.
before you kind of had a property, what sort of things would you talk about?
about viewings.
About viewings, outwork, like whatever, just literally like, oh, I've outreached to so-and-so today, I had this conversation. Oh, I found this and this was super interesting. Like, just literally just like write down a couple key things you did that day, put that in a video, and I was sending it out. Now, was I doing it? Like, again, I could have done more throughput. I could have done a video every single day on every single one. And I ran, like one of the things that I ran, I think it was, must have been last year, February. So not this year, but like year before that, is I ran called it like a financial freedom challenge. And essentially the goal was
Was it 10K?
no, I think it was 20. It was either 10 or 20K. But my goal from that was essentially like, in this month, I want to make 10K profit. And I would basically, I wasn't even posting it on Instagram at this point, but I was basically every single day I was documenting it and sending it to these WhatsApp chats. And then that kind of like got me a bit of like, notoriety is not the right word, but like people are then invested. They're like, oh, there's this kid who's trying to do 10K profit in a month. And then I would like put out like deals for people to buy, and people would want to buy those deals because they almost like, well, I want to buy something from him because I want to help his challenge kind of thing. Like, it's, you know, it's almost like, like when people do fundraisers, like you almost want to donate because you want to be part of it and you want to help the cause. And that's almost like in a way, it's kind of a marketing play really. But like what you realize is like, if your marketing is good enough, you can sell anything. Like I think marketing is the most, people will say sales, you can flip flap, but like if you can market well enough, people will just buy from you and click a button. They won't, you don't need a sales team. It's like all of this kind of goes into there. So it's like for you, it's like if you 8x your output there by you guys going to 1 a week, you do it on the same day. So but you go to different events, then you go to 8 events a week, 8 events a month. It's going to massively increase this. Then if you increase this number as well, you kind of say like, okay. And then there's kind of two kind of points on that, which is like,
I want to make one point as well. You know, the more and the better. I think a lot of people get stuck on the better, so they keep tinkering with their one pager, or they're like, oh, I need a website, you know.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can spend days on
Weeks,
improving
months.
your materials,
Yeah.
but without the volume, it's not going to do anything. You know, it's like you can waste so much time on trying to get better and better.
Yeah.
But first, you need to do the more.
Yeah.
And then,
but then
then it will get better anyway.
the
'cause
answer
you get more
also
experience.
is like, when you think you got to do it better, the answer probably is that you just have to do more.
Yeah.
Like,
Because we haven't really like done loads with our one page, and we kind of did it once, and then we haven't built a website or a landing page.
Actually, I was just trying to count that. I apologise.
I don't know.
Oh, well.
That's okay.
No, that's
Yeah,
good. At least you're not wasting time on that.
Because we've seen especially when we've spoken to landlords or whatever, they're not. I mean, it's different obviously if you're doing ads and you need to take them somewhere, or you're doing cold outreach and you want to send them the one page.
Yeah.
That's different, which is on my to-do list because I haven't started with the affiliates list yet.
Okay, but that's again wrong, because we need to just do more of this first.
Yeah, true.
This is really bad handwriting, but like you need to do more of this first before you even like focus. Like do more of this first before you even think about doing anything else. So if you have whatever numbers we wrote down here, it was like 800, 900, like I know there's duplicates in there across platforms, right? But there's still probably like, you need to have done all of that first before you even like, and just like imagine like me in the back of your brain saying like, you don't you dare do anything else until you've done this kind of thing. Because that's where the value would come with all the throughput here. And it's the same here. It's like, okay, you could, and I know that's the hard part. It's like, oh, well, I could do cold outreach. I can do that from the comfort of my own home. But if I go to a networking event and spend that time there, again, if you 8x your output, it'll come through here.
Yeah, we've put a few more in the diary, but I think we could definitely up the 1 a month, even if we started doing 2 a month or something, or 3.
Yeah, but even like that's where I would say it's like, even if you do 2 a month, but you guys go to separate events,
it doubles. Yeah.
then you're doing 4. You're working
And then
4
it
different
quadruples
runs.
if you do that.
Yeah.
So then you've done a 400% increase on what you're currently doing, which will again make a massive difference. Because like then it's like you just focus on these 2 to begin with, and be like, okay, well you should eventually reach a point, and like you'll never reach that real point, but it's almost like I can feasibly not really do much more than I am doing right now. Now, people will always say like, you can do more, which the answer is yes, but like then there comes like, do you actually want to like live kind of thing. But like this is like the main thing. And then once you do this part here, is like the way that I then went is like, okay, I've done the networking piece, I've built a bit of a brand, let me take that brand to socials. Yeah. Because I then built a bit of authority. So even if I only had 1,000 followers, those 1,000 followers were highly qualified people, who knew who I was already. Like they probably already met me at an event or whatever. And then people started reaching out for me for that. And like, being honest, like people will be like, oh yeah, like, oh, you do the socials, then you go sell a course. You can do that, yes. But what you can also do is like, we also get shit tons of leads through like management. Some of the biggest contracts and things that we've got have all come through my social media.
Your ads, or just they follow you?
No, like people who've DM'd me.
Oh, okay.
Like some of the biggest contracts and deals and stuff have come through that, because that is the new way of how people connect. So like, some old guy might be like, well, but actually like all the biggest deals and a lot of that stuff, because like, if you have a public facing brand and someone says like, right, I've got a block of apartments, the guy who's 70 might not approach you, but the guy who's like 30, 40, and eventually that, that age demographic will just come up. These are the people who are like, they will start approaching you because they'll be like, okay, well, I know of someone who does that kind of thing. And that's why this is such a key thing. It's like, it builds off this, but it's like, first you need to get comfortable just going to the events and building your brand in that authority and niche, and not in a way that's really public facing, and then you can do the socials kind of thing afterwards. And that's where the final piece comes in of like, which I think is not true necessarily, but like eventually it comes to like, people are inherently lazy, and then it comes to like leverage. So it's like, you could theoretically try and leverage, AI or whatever. And like I'm saying with our funnel, is like we could try and leverage AI and have them kind of set appointments and calls and do these analyses and stuff like that, which you can. There's always a way to like automate better and more. But the point being is like people try and leverage way too soon. Like they try and automate and do things. It's like you actually need to have done the processes first and know them for it to actually work. But the biggest kind of leverage piece that you can use here is like, there's two parts that come off leverage, which is essentially time or money. Like either you leverage your time or you leverage your money. If you have neither, being honest, you're kind of fucked. You have to, for people, like realistically, there's people who have more money than time, or have more time than money. Or there's people who will argue that they have neither. My argument to that, and we had this argument, not an actual argument, but we had this debate very early on in our business, was like, obviously she had more money than me. I wasn't flat broke, but I didn't have loads of money. I was like 20 when we started the business. But she didn't have a lot of time. And
so you put the time in and I put the money in.
Yeah,
That's
so
how
she
it
put some
started.
money in, I put some time in. But also what we still even said after that, because like, not multi-millionaires, like it wasn't like we could pump millions into this company and just grow it through paid. It was like, it was still the argument of like, either you need to put more time in or put more money in. And she was like, well, I'm not really prepared to put more money in, was kind of where we came to really. Like we did invest, but like it was more...
The conclusion was that if we wanted to grow the business more, because he was in a fortunate position where he put
similar to where you are now.
Put time in, and
my job was quite flexible.
I was in the unfortunate position that I was absolutely flat out with work, so I couldn't put time in, and so the only way to kind of grow it further was to free up my time, and then I could put time in the business.
Yeah.
That's what we ended up doing.
Because like then, and like for most people, it's not like, there's the thing that went really viral, which Molly May said, which was like, everyone has the same 24 hours in a day. And like, the fact that she said it doesn't make it work, but what she said in principle is true, in the sense of like, if you're coming from you're coming from the worst situation ever, then fine. You've got other things to worry about. But like, for most people trying to like, you guys are like, your life is okay, I'm assuming, for the most part. But it's more like you need to, is like like one of the things I said to her is like, you have to ruthlessly prioritize.
Yeah.
And it's like I have 2 little sisters. I just said like sack them off. Now that's not exactly what, but like you have to like
Stop being a mom.
yeah, like be a like, because she's an overly diligent parent and over like whatever of like doing a lot for my, and I was like, you just have to like be a, like in her eyes, be a worse mum. And if you're not prepared to do that, you have to accept that, but you have to understand that like the timeline of where you want to get like the goal.
It will
whatever,
slow things down.
is it will slow things down.
Yeah.
Because like for me, I'm very fortunate in the sense of like, I don't have that many other priorities. And I also like most, like if I write down a list and like, I urge you to do the same, like, okay, what are things I spend my time on?
Yeah.
I'd happily cross most of them off and be like spend time with my family, see my girlfriend, work. And that's pretty much sums up like most of my life. But I genuinely like, and it's like, if you've got other things in there that you actually go like, do I really enjoy these kind of things? Start just being a bit more ruthless and crossing them off. Because it's like, how quickly do you want to get to that goal kind of thing?
Yeah, no, I think we definitely could put more time. We put time into it, but we're both aware we could put like
and then,
a lot more time. I think I've probably got a bit more time than Mike, to be honest, because he travels a lot he's away a lot for work and stuff. But when we can, we both obviously put time in. But I'm the one that's probably got that little bit more time that I put in.
And then I think for the money side of things, where you start to figure out here is like, for example, if you want to do more outreach, or like even if you started to like look at cold or ads, like this is where then you, because people suddenly think like, okay, if it's money then it has to be thousands of pounds. It doesn't necessarily, but it's like leverage means that you are leveraging someone else's time. You're basically buying time with money. So it's like, then if you start to do cold, you could have like a VA who does the initial outreach messages, which, you know, may only cost you £500 a month, which might seem like a lot, but if you look at it from your throughput and funnel perspective, if that VA brings you in 1 contract a month or 2 contracts a month, they're already paying it back. And that's how businesses grow, right? They start leveraging other people's time. They pay them money, they get other people's time, and then they make more money off their time. And then the same with like ads, you are leveraging the delivery, because you are, you know, once you post the ad, it's delivering on repeat automatically. So it's high leverage there, but you are paying money for the eyeballs. Like you're paying money for like the views, for people to see it, to click on it, etc. And that's where you then have to work on your funnel to make sure like your throughput is good and you're getting a good return on that. But these can be things that you can do with like £500, some stuff like that. So it's very like, that's where you start to leverage that first. And like, this is probably the quickest way in which you can like shorten that time frame. Like it's by far the quickest way, especially in like the business that we're in. You can shorten that time frame so quickly. And I wish I'd learned about it and done it sooner. But
yeah, we started to put like a couple of ideas on a page in terms of scripts, but so at some point we'll send them over to you. And I'd really be interested to know ideas and thoughts on like how to actually execute the ad.
To film it to begin with is like, I would just get you in front of a camera talking at the camera. That's it. And then you can throw some like cuts and like some background footage in there. But that's all I would do to begin with. And like that will still convert at like a decent, like our management ads are genuinely really bad.
And I'm like, don't make them better.
Yeah.
I can't cope with more.
And like, so like they're genuinely it's more like once you're, like we were talking about with the funnel, it's like once you're, like if you, let's say if you have 100 people who click on it, if you go from the back end optimization. So if you go from like converting like 10% of people into phone calls to 20%, that's 100% uplift. So you suddenly go from having 10 phone calls to 20 phone calls. And then from that, you go from having like 1 viewing to 4 viewings or whatever it is. And that's the final piece. But it's like, what I say is either you can say like, okay, I'm the type of person I almost need to spend money on it because it will hold me accountable to it. Or it's like, you should be doing these 2 things first at like the utmost optimized level before you move on to something that's paid, which you can do either. There's not one right or wrong answer. If you do this, as I say, you can shorten that time gap very, very quickly. But then you have to make sure that you're delivering on the back end, because otherwise you're just burning money.
Yeah. I feel like when we get a lead, we're quite good at following up straight away and we track it. And like Mike especially is quite good on the phone on that side of things.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing we're struggling with is the volume to actually, when a lead goes dead in the end, we're like, oh, we kind of have to start we don't have a whole, backup of leads in the pipeline.
It's the pipeline.
Yeah.
So
It's
in
still
your,
in the pipeline.
in your funnel, the biggest issue is your top of funnel, like what's coming in.
Yeah.
How do you solve that issue?
More volume, I guess.
Can you? But then so it comes back to this question, right? Is, do you have the time to do that?
So I could definitely up my time, but it depends. Yeah.
But this is where you have to really kind of like really break it down, because it kind of comes to these 2 things of like, the answer here is more volume.
Is how do you get it?
So how do you get it?
So if you have more money than time, then for example ads
Or
is
a
good way of
VA
doing it.
will allow you to.
Or a VA. If you have more time than money, it could also be a preference.
It can be
right?
both,
It doesn't
yeah.
have to be like, oh, I've got more time than money. It's like, I'm prepared to spend more time than money on it. That's fine too. But if that's the answer, then it would be like, for example, networking event is a very effective way of doing it, and it's probably more enjoyable than constant cold outreach, right? So it's making a conscious effort of like how you're going to increase your pipeline.
Yeah, I was kind of nervous to attend networking, and then now I've been to it.
Yeah,
it's actually fine, but I hate picking up the phone to people that I don't know. So I actually much preferred the networking rather than being on the phone.
Yeah, so play to your strengths. Yeah, that's fine. The picking up the phone will come, and also like with the ads, for example, the stuff that I showed you earlier. Those are people that have reached out.
They've
via
opted
ads.
in.
They've asked us for an Airbnb valuation, right? So that's very different from calling someone where it's a pure cold call. This is people where you are basically, they've asked you to do you a service, do them a service, and you're following up on like, listen, this was your request. It's a very different phone call.
Yeah.
That's it. I think one thing that me and Mike spoke about is we could definitely up the time we put in, but then it's like we can up it to a certain point. So it's not like we've got no day job to spend all day on it. So it's like we can up it to a certain point where we could spend an extra hour or even 2 hours a day than what we're doing now, definitely. But then it's like we came back to that point where, but is that enough? Like we're thinking
But that's where it goes through to your like. So, I mean, this is basically what you're running into is basically the big question and the big issue that everybody runs into unless you hit it off the ground running straight away, which is like, am I spending enough time on it? If I'm not, what is the solution to that? So, like, again, even if you did like 1 to 2 hours a day more, would that shortcut?
It would also, sorry, I'm interrupting, but it would also like, how much do you spend currently? Because if you currently spend, say, 1 hour a day, and you say, I can put another 1 to 2 hours in, let's just say it's another 1 hour. That's doubling your
throughput. That's what I was going to say is like the.
So it will double your outcome.
Yeah, it is. Again, if you go from doing like, what we said was basically 30 a day, if you were to go from 1 hour to triple that to go to 100 a day, that would again 3x your output
It will.
on the back end.
Yeah. I'd
As
say
long as the
on
numbers stay the
average,
same.
Probably put in like 2 hours, two
Okay.
hours a day.
So to be a bit harsh, if you're doing 2 hours a day, you got to do way more than that. Like I'm just being truthful. Like that, you've got to do way more than that if you're doing 2 hours a day.
And that's
And
why I
then-
think when I say like we waste time, like
Yeah.
looking at
What's the
like,
word? It's like positive procrastination or something.
We'll like
I can't remember.
we'll waste time like I don't know if I'm not sure who to reach out to or like build another list or like
Yeah. It's positive. I can't remember.
Natural.
I think it is positive procrastination is the phrase
it's
or
like
word. But it's like
100% not like 2 hours of outreach.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like
yeah.
2 hours of a bit of outreach, then a bit of list building, and then a bit
Yeah.
of let me rewatch that video. That
Yeah,
goes
so that's
up.
where you
It's
have to, like,
yeah.
like one of the things that I find is just like time block like 2 hours and be like, right, the only thing I'm allowed to do in that 2 hours is outreach. And then if you start to like mentally see that you're veering off, just go straight back to just be like, right, well, I'm not allowed to do that. I have to go back.
You know what worked for me, which was just like little things, like when I had to do the proper cold calling, and it's not my thing. I can assure you. But when I had to do it, it was almost like, okay, I'm only allowed to have a shower after I've called at least 10 people. You know, I just had to put like these little barriers,
Like punishment and reward things, like yeah.
But it worked because I was like, okay, no, I've told myself I can only do this. I really
You start
wanna do
holding
that.
yourself more accountable.
Yeah.
So like for me, one of the things that I do is like if I have like I'll write like a to-do list and I will not stop working on that day until I've finished that to-do list generally, unless it's like a really big like I try to like that's one of the things that I mentally hold myself accountable to. But like you were saying on this piece, it's like if you can increase the time here, so if you already 3x the time that you spend here, you will start to do 3x the output. And then if you still on top of that are like, right, I'm willing to put in X amount of money, suddenly you've then 3 extra output on the time front, and then you've also put some money in, which is either a VA or ads or whatever you do, and then that also then might 3 extra output here. And then suddenly you start seeing things start to flow down here and like you start to get results at the bottom. And that's the main thing.
And the other thing that helped me is, in terms of focus, is like whenever you're doing something, literally ask yourself, is this a money generating activity?
Yeah.
So, you know, cold calling, as much as it's not
Sucks.
something you like
Yeah.
to do, it is a money generating activity. You know, there's a very clear link between making the calls and potentially getting a viewing or evaluation or whatever. Making a list in Excel with beautiful drop down boxes is, and I love a good Excel spreadsheet, but it's not necessarily a money generating activity. You know, they are nice to have and they will make you more efficient over time, but it's like that consistency and that ruthless focus is like everything you do is ask yourself like,
Is this
a
like
money generating
there's like the
activity?
80-20 principle, which is the same of like when I'm saying like we could automate with AI and stuff. It's like, okay, great, but we might spend a month, 2 months on that project. You know, you have to reach a point where you are comfortable enough so you can start working on long-term projects, i.e. building an AI that books appointments and books calls for you, and that's great. But it's like, that doesn't matter if like if you're still getting nothing at the bottom, like if you're still not getting the contracts in the first place, you need to worry about that before you worry about like tinkering with all these other little things. And it's part of that ruthless prioritization, like she's saying, is like just focus on it. So like for you, your whole piece is basically like, you know, your numbers and your funnel seems to be, you know, as to like the conversions and stuff that we're working with is decent, but it's like your main thing is like you need to 3x at minimum your outreach every single day. Like basically.
You're top of the funnel.
Yeah.
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 Actually, no, I've done the maths wrong. If you've done 300 outreaches, it's not even 30, it's like 3 a day. If that's over 3 months, that's 90 days. Yeah, I'm right. So it was not 30, it's 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's 3 a day, not
100 a
30,
month.
which is 100 a month. So like,
We do, yeah, we'd like, if
So,
we
like-
do outreach, we wouldn't obviously just do like 3. We'd do like a couple of days where we do nothing.
Yeah, and that's
outreach
like,
wise, and then we'll do like a couple of days. We're like, right, we need to do some outreach,
yeah.
and then we'll
So it's like you need to 3x that at minimum. You should both be going to like, mine would be like 1 per week is the minimum of like one networking event.
Yeah, I agree with that. That
Like-
should be doable.
Like, and you both go on the same day, but then go to like different ones. So go to 2 different events, both in like central London, but you might go to 2 different events because then you, again, more faces, more people, builds the brand. Because the brand is Claudia and Michael. It's not like if Claudia and Michael are sat in the same room, they may only see 400 faces. But if Claudia is sat in one room and Michael sat in the other, they might see 800 faces. So again, that would then kind of extra output there. And then you can go on to the like, okay, I've 3x my time input here. Like I've 3x my time input. I'm already starting to see the results of that in my kind of like my funnel. I'm starting to see that more things are just trickling in, right? And then it's like, okay, if at the moment your money input is, let's say, 0 in terms of like financial, but like if you then started putting money as well into that funnel piece, then again, that would also start to then massively drop in more buckets there to it as well. And the money piece is almost easier in a way because it gives you more leverage, it's easier to control. Like you can control how much money you spend on ads. So you can control almost how many, like if you know your processes like all the way through to like how much it costs you to get a customer, you can almost buy customers and be like, well, it just cost me this much. So like that's how many customers I can deal with. Like that's what we're doing. We're like, okay, well we're only spending £20 a day because this is how much it costs us to get a lead, this is how much it costs us to get a customer. We can't feasibly work with any more. Like we can't, not with the customer side, but with the delivering on the sales side. It's the same with the VAs. You can control their hours, so you can control that money lever quite quickly and see the outputs of it. But those are kind of the main things that you really need to do to start seeing the kind of true funnel work through properly. Because like again, if it's like when you say like a funnel or whatever, is like you're saying, if you're not topping it up here, eventually it just runs dry and then nothing comes here. So even if you still got some pieces going through the middle, it's like, then let's say it leaks out the funnel and it doesn't happen, then suddenly there's nothing here anymore. And then you need to restart again. So it's like you constantly have to be topping that piece up.
Because where we've put like some energy in recently, where we've had a couple of potential deals and someone's asked for like, whether it's a presentation deck or whether it's someone wants detailed breakdown of this and that, and takes us a little bit more time to go through the numbers and understand it a bit better and things like that. Where we've been like, oh, we've done 2 hours of work today on the business. It's all been on that one person.
Yeah.
And it's not been on topping up the funnel. So then, like, because we kind of did that last week where we put all our efforts into this one guy that we're still sort of communicating with. And then if that doesn't work out, then we start from scratch again. So it's like,
go all over.
But what you have to do is there has to be like delivery is like X amount. Like you put X amount into that but like because your main problem is just your top of the funnel is like there has to be, no matter what, a certain amount of time, like, I say 1 hour a day minimum, like it should be more, but 1 hour per day. 1 hour per day minimum that is put onto that. No matter what else is going on, that has to be the minimum because it constantly will just start to trickle through. Because as you'll see, like things leak out. They don't always go to this final piece. And that piece needs to be done.
Yeah, 100%.
But that's it, really. Kind of. Well.
See it all in front of
On a whiteboard. Are we going to do more of these? I like it.